Hello and welcome to the last week. Well, last week was the last week, but this is a bonus week. So thank you for joining. We're going to really focus, as we always do, on the meditations. So we're going to do 3 different meditations. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, okay, what do you do now? What do you do now? And there have been some questions about, books and resources and what do we do now? What do we do next? Etc. So we'll get into all of that, but let's start with the meditation. So once again, taking your seat such that you're comfortable but not too comfortable. The idea is to be comfortable, but still to be able to hold focus. So sitting, generally advised to be sitting up straight. Take a nice deep breath in, filling your lungs completely. And then let it all the way out, completely emptying your lungs. And then we're going to take another nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And now let it out very slowly. Just starting to settle, slow down, paying attention to this breath. And when you get to the bottom of that breath, one more deep breath in. And once again, letting it out very slowly, releasing any tension you're holding in your body, in your face, your shoulders, or your hips. Then allow your breathing to return to normal. And just starting to rest your attention on this breath. Just noticing what your mind is bringing to this evening's class. Whether it's agitated, relaxed, sleepy. Whatever your mind is right now, don't fight it. Just simply notice it. And then see if you can let all of your responsibilities, your concerns, your to-dos, let everything that's on your mind just fall away. You can do it all after the class. But for now, just give yourself the luxury of this break, this pause for 90 minutes. And for now, just resting on this breath. Let's start with just noticing a specific sensation where the air enters your nose or across your lips. You might notice the in-breath, then the pause, and then the out-breath, and then another pause. Noticing this cycle. Not thinking about it, just allowing yourself to simply be aware. Just resting in awareness of the moment. Each breath is actually made up of countless tiny moments of now. We're just paying attention to each moment of right now. As soon as you notice the moment, you let it pass away and then notice the next moment and the next moment. till it just becomes a flow of pure awareness. Just noticing your breathing. And we'll do this for about 10 minutes. We're about halfway through. Just encourage you and remind you that the mind does what it does. Sometimes we can really be still and focused and in that state of awareness, and then all of a sudden we find we've been thinking about something else for a few minutes or something. And that can seem frustrating. Just encourage you to recognize that's normal. It's always going to happen, and if there is a secret, it is just each time you notice that your mind took your attention, just notice that it took your attention, that's all. And then keep persevering. Keep always going back to this moment, right now, this breath, and start again. in addition to your breathing, just starting to become aware of the physical sensations of your body. Noticing the big obvious sensations, probably like what you're sitting on. But also starting to notice all of the subtle sensations. Each of which is only happening right now. Just resting your attention in the awareness of these physical sensations from your toes, your legs, your body, your shoulders, your arms, fingertips, your head, your face. Just resting your attention in awareness of all the sensations from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Now once again, just checking in for a few seconds and noticing what is the emotional feeling in your body right now. Not necessarily trying to name it, just seeing if you can open to letting yourself feel it. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, comfortable or uncomfortable. Just for a few seconds, simply notice the feeling. And take a deep breath in and let it out. When your own time, when you're ready, open your eyes. Connect yourself back into the room. So, 13 weeks later, I guess it was 12 weeks ago, we started. It was April 1st. Pandemic was just a few weeks old. The world has changed a lot since then. We've done 12 weeks of meditation. I hope you've learned a lot. I just want to summarize, if I may, what I think are the really important points of what I've tried to get across in the 12 weeks. And that is, at its core, what this subject is really about is that your mind is amazing. It's incredible. Absolutely fantastic. And it's also flawed in a couple of different ways. And one of the key ways that the mind tends to be flawed is that it tends to always look at what's wrong. And this is a very useful skill for survival in terms of always looking for threats. So we're programmed, we're wired to always be on the lookout for what is wrong right now, what might go wrong, and what has gone wrong in the past that we can learn from. So the mind is oriented in this somewhat negative way towards what's wrong. And that leads us to look at various things, including, most importantly, ourselves, in a relatively negative light. And this is not true. This is not the truth. It's just one perspective, and it happens to be this relatively negative perspective, which is just the way the human mind is wired. Good for survival, terrible for happiness. The most simple example I always like to give is you wear a new outfit and people see you, and the first 9 people who see you go, "Hey, great outfit." And then one person just says, "Huh, that was a bold choice." And you are completely fixated for the rest of the night. What's wrong? Why did they say that? You forget completely about the 9 people who said it was great. You just focus on the negative. And that's not a personality defect of yours. It's just the way the human mind works. And so in meditation, we're just recognizing that. This is why we come to it, is we recognize there are a few ways in which the mind is flawed. One of which is always on the lookout for what's wrong. And another one of which is to constantly be dissatisfied with what we have. So no matter what you have that's good, very, very quickly we'll be dissatisfied with it. And again, good for survival, terrible for happiness. Classic example being something like when you get something new, a new handbag, a new pair of shoes, a new car, a new phone, whatever it is that's new, there's an immediate thrill. There's this little dopamine rush when you buy something. It's how shopping works. It keeps the economy going. It's like there is a rush of pleasure when we get something new, which is good. It rewards us for going and getting more stuff, which is good for survival. Maybe good for the economy. But it's not good for happiness. And then, very quickly, soon after we've got it, soon after we like it, it's just another pair of shoes. It's just another car. It gets a dent and it's suddenly not so new anymore. We're not so pleased with it anymore. Somebody else gets a better phone than we've got. It's like, phone envy. You want more. Not a personality defect, just the way the mind is wired. So it's a couple of different ways in which the mind is flawed. And you can get through life perfectly well having a flawed mind. Most people do. But in meditation, what we're suggesting is that there is another alternative, which is you can become more familiar with how your mind works. You can start to see it for what it is. That sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's your best friend. It's the best thing you've got going for you. But sometimes it is your worst enemy. Some of the things that go through your mind that you tell yourself, your worst enemy would not say to you. So in meditation, we're saying, hold on a second, let's start to become familiar with our mind. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start to see it for what it is. We're going to start to see thoughts for what they are. They're just thoughts, not necessarily truth. And the way we do that is this very simple exercise, where we place the attention somewhere else other than our thoughts, so that there's a contrast. By placing it on the breath, or placing it on the body, or placing it on a piece of music or a candle flame, by placing the attention somewhere other than in this mental processing thing that we call our mind. When we place it somewhere else, we're able to notice when the mind distracts us and starts to think. And in that way, we're becoming more familiar with these thoughts. We're starting to be able to see them, to become more aware of them. And this present moment awareness of placing our attention in the present moment, starting to see reality as it is without the mental processing, just in that moment, just this breath right now, placing your attention there, or placing your attention on the physical sensations of your body, placing it somewhere else other than here. I mean, it's great as a break, as a relaxation thing, as a de-stressing thing, just taking a break from your mind. What I call like the having a cup of tea for your mind thing. That's fantastic. That's why a lot of people come to it. You want to feel a bit better. That's why you feel a bit better. You're just taking a break from the craziness that is your mind. Craziness that is my mind. It's not just you. I promise you. We're taking a break, but we're also starting to become familiar with our own mind, starting to see our thoughts as just thoughts, not truth. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. And with training, slowly, we start to become more and more familiar. And in this present moment awareness, I sort of introduced what I consider to be the 4 building blocks. And lots of meditation teachers out there, we pretty much agree about a few of these building blocks, and then some people have 12 building blocks, some people have 46 building blocks, some people might have 2. And I sort of think 4 is kind of my minimum number that I think are worthwhile. The first one being focus. This aspect of focus and concentration. And it's part of it. It is what we are placing our attention very gently somewhere. And then we're able to notice when we've lost focus because we chose to focus it somewhere. So then we notice when it starts focusing on something else. So focus, key piece. Then a couple of nons. So we've got non-striving. So there is this idea that to really sit with the present moment as it is, just to see the moment as it is. We try and approach it without an agenda. We try to approach it without wanting something from the meditation. And I know this is difficult because we all want something from meditation. There's a reason we meditate. But in the meditation itself, it really helps if you can approach it without an agenda, because you'll almost always be frustrated. If you go, oh, I really want a peaceful meditation, or I really want a really good meditation, or I really want a spiritual experience. Well, unfortunately, it's not how it works. Sometimes you get a peaceful meditation. Sometimes you get incredible stillness. Sometimes your mind, it might explode in all these insights and wisdom and ways of seeing the world and seeing yourself. Sometimes you might even have what people refer to as spiritual experience, but you can't do it on demand. You have to just allow the moment to unfold as it unfolds. So this non-striving piece is tricky, but it's really helpful. Coming at meditation without an agenda. Then there's non-judgment. And we are programmed to judge, to evaluate, to decide what we like, what we don't like, what works, what doesn't work, what we agree with, what we disagree with, what we believe and what we don't believe. So we're programmed around judgment. We like it. We're good at it. We have opinions about everything. In meditation, though, we're trying to approach the moment without judgment. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One is it's incredibly helpful in the meditation to just avoid the judgment, avoid judging yourself when you catch yourself distracted. Instead of going, oh, damn it, I'm terrible at meditation. If you keep telling yourself you're terrible at meditation, you'll stop meditating. Because your psyche, your subconscious is going to go, you don't like meditating. So we'll find something else. We'll find all these distractions. We'll find all these other things that we can convince you should be doing instead of meditating. And you just find you won't be meditating. So you really need to avoid judging yourself. But the other thing is that judgment in and of itself, that's in here. When we're evaluating, we're judging, we're deciding, we're thinking, we're not able to be fully present to the moment. So it's, in many ways, judgment itself, while natural and normal and part of how we're built, in that moment when we're judging, and it's very useful a lot of the time, but if you're judging, you are not present to the moment. So we start to become familiar with this judgment thing. And as much as possible, every time we catch ourselves judging and thinking, oh, this meditation is no good today, or I'm terrible at meditating, or whatever it is, you just notice it and then see if you can let it go. And just be present with this moment right now instead of the judgment. And then the last piece is curiosity, which is just this way of opening yourself up to look at the moment in as much detail as possible, to be fully present. It's the opposite of non-judgment in a way. It's like being fully present and open and interested and curious about what the next moment is going to unfold into. And then the next moment, and then the next moment. So we looked at the 4 building blocks, and then we looked at a whole bunch of different techniques. And I think all of the techniques are helpful, and I hope it's been helpful for you to see a bunch of different techniques, whether it's awareness meditation or mantra meditation or loving kindness meditation or many of the variations we've had of all of those, or even recently been introducing this chakra meditation as a different type of meditation. So lots of different types of meditation, and then covered all the different benefits. Primarily my point is simply that meditation, while you might approach it because you want to feel a bit better, you might want a bit of stress relief, I invite you to think of it as much bigger than that this improves absolutely every aspect of life. If you're meditating, everything is a little bit better, and then everything keeps getting a little bit better. So it was my encouragement and inspiration to try and get you to meditate. So now we've done 12 weeks. So what are we going to do now? Well, I think there are a couple of different things I want to say about that. One of which is that even via YouTube and online, one of the things that we have been able to do, and obviously it's not quite this, it's not even close to being the same as if we were in person, but there is somewhat of a community. So I don't know how many of you there are. You can probably see that better than I, but there's probably somewhere between 30 and 50 of you online right now. And even though we can't see each other, there is a sense that we're here together. We're doing this thing together. And some form of community is incredibly helpful. And there are a couple of aspects to that. One of which is that the world at large is wonderful. It's amazing. So many different fantastic opportunities and things to enjoy and opportunities to explore and to grow and all that kind of stuff. I'm not anti the world. I think the world's fantastic. However, it's not terribly interested in meditation. If you like, meditation is suggesting that happiness, everything you want, everything that you really desire, everything you think you need in life, you already have. It's already inside you. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's the mantra I love. It roughly translates as happiness is within you. It's right in the middle of your chest. Almost all advertising in the United States and in the West says happiness is outside you. Happiness is a new car. Happiness is a new vacuum cleaner. It's this can of beer. It's Diet Coke. It's whatever. All these advertisements are saying happiness is over here. Buy this product. So the world at large is not really encouraging you to meditate. And if you go through a normal day with television or maybe radio or the internet, 99.9% of the messages you're going to be getting are going to be telling you happiness is outside you. And if that's the only messages you're getting, it's quite easy to forget that there's another way. There's another approach, which is that there's this meditation approach that says, you know what? Actually, everything you need, everything you want is already within you. So without some form of community, without some form of touchstone whereby you get that message, you get that reinforcement, you can be very alone and it's very easy to forget. If you're getting 99 messages saying happiness is outside of you, it's very easy to start believing that. That's just the way we're built. So you need some kind of reminder, and community is a way in which, like, if there's some kind of event where you have to get together, you're just forcing yourself to remember that you have chosen or you are enjoying or exploring this other approach that says, actually, you know what? You have these incredible resources within you. So community is a big piece of it. It's not the only way to do that, but it's definitely a big piece of that. And so as these 13 weeks come to an end, I'm sort of somewhat abandoning you. We've created this little community and now I'm going to slightly, shut it down, close it off, and then we're on our own. Each of us is going to be on our own. And part of me feels incredibly responsible. I'm like, what am I doing? Abandoning these people. And another part of me probably thinks you're all quite relieved that you don't have to do this anymore. I regret, I kind of need a break as well. So I'm going to take a break from it. But I confess, I already have a community. I have Reed, who's online right now, answering questions if you have any. I have Douglas. I've got Jose. We are sort of the 4 members of Real World Meditation. And then we've got other people in our meditation community. There's Chris and Matt and various other people. And we get together periodically and we meditate together. And this may be your only group. And so what I'd like to suggest is that there are some other ways. You don't have to sort of suddenly magically find a group or make a group. You can, if you like. By all means, find a colleague, and you only need maybe one other person. And you can just do little things like just text each other in the morning. Sharon Salzberg tells the story about how she had this little messaging group, and they would just They didn't go into long detail about their meditations and like, oh, I saw Jesus in Technicolor, or it wasn't like that. It was just simply whether they meditated that day or not. So they would just text each other like, yes or no. And somebody apparently had this way of doing it, which was that as they left their bedroom, their meditation space was on the left and their office was on the right. So they would just text, turned left. And it was just this way of reminding you, not intending to make you feel bad if you've missed your meditation in the morning, but it's just a reminder from one or two other people that there is this thing called meditation. It's a way of encouraging each other and inspiring each other to keep coming back to this practice. So you can form your own little group if you know one or two or a few other people who meditate. You can just form a little group and maybe just sort of say, hey, how about we get together on Wednesday nights or Thursday mornings or Sunday mornings or whenever. Let's just get together online or on Zoom or whatever, and we'll just meditate. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Just form a little group. So community can be really helpful. And then there are some other ways you can form community. So people have asked me, like, what are good resources? You know, books, apps, courses, etc. And there are a number of apps out there, more every day, I think. And I haven't checked out, I've probably checked out a very small percentage of them. I do think that the videos on the Headspace app are terrific. They're fantastic. Whoever put them together, I mean, it was Andy Puddicombe and some graphics team in the UK, but they are terrific little graphics, and they're free. Like the first 10 days of Headspace is free, and there are loads of these little videos, and then there are loads more videos by Headspace on YouTube that you can look at. They are terrific. So I think Headspace is a really good app, but it's a paid for app. I mean, you get the first 10 days free, and then if you want to do more or do their courses, then it's paid for it. But by far, the most popular app on the planet right now is something called Insight Timer. And if you don't know it yet, I really encourage you, if you've got a smartphone or you've got a tablet, check out Insight Timer. I'll show you a picture of it. So it's just a picture of a little gold bowl, and it's just called Insight Timer. So that's kind of what it looks like, is the app. And then if you go into it, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of meditations that you can do by many, many fantastic teachers. And they range from the practical to the deeply esoteric. So you will find, you probably find some really wacky stuff out there, but you'll also find some stuff that you really like. In terms of teachers on there, there are masses. Many, many, many really, really good ones. There's even a couple by me. But and I'm going to try and get some more on there. I haven't really paid enough attention to it. But if you like, so a couple of the relatively basic instruction courses that I really like. One is by a woman called Sarah Blondin, Blondin. And I think it's just her voice. I mean, she is kind of terrific as well. But I think that's, she's got the most extraordinary voice, and I could listen to that to the end of my days. And I think she's got a free 10-day beginner course called something like Coming Home to Yourself, I think it's called. And you can find that on Insight Timer. There's another woman teacher who I really like. She's Australian, so you have to like an Australian accent. And even though my mother was Australian, sometimes I can find the accent a little off-putting. But her name is Mellie O'Brien, Melli O-Brien, Brien, I think. And she has a website as well called mrsmindfulness.com. Anyway, she's got a whole bunch of meditations and a course on Insight Timer. I think she's terrific. So that's a couple of good places to start. And then there are literally thousands and thousands of other meditations on there. Now, one of the reasons I particularly like it is that when you sit down to meditate on Insight Timer, you can start, you press the button and you start meditating. And however long you meditate for, whether it's 1 minute, 10 minutes, 2 hours. At the end of it, it tells you how many thousands of other people were meditating using the Insight Timer. And there is something kind of nice, or at least I like, about you sit down with the Insight Timer, you press start. It's got a little countdown or a little timer so you can see how long you're meditating for. And if you want, you can set it up so there are these little bells that'll remind you to refocus every however many minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, however long. And then at the end it says, while you were meditating, 8,546 people were meditating with you. And I like that. There is this sense that you're not alone. It's not just you with some computerized app. It was you with 8,560 odd people or whatever, all meditating at the same time. So I like that. The other thing they've got is this kind of neat little thing you can buy into. I'm still not sure if this is healthy or not healthy, but whatever works, they have this little aspect where every day that you meditate, they record it that you meditated. And if you meditate for 10 days in a row, they give you a little star. And you go, oh, I got a little star. I can't remember what the first color is. It might be green or something like that. And then when you've done 50 in total, so 10 in a row, they give you a star. When you've done 50 days, they give you another star. Well, every 10 days in a row, they give you a star. But if you do 50, let's say you do 5, and then you miss a day and you do 5, you're not getting any stars. But when you've done 50 days, they give you a star. If you do 50 days in a row, if my maths is right, you end up with 6 stars. So you got 1 for each of the 10 days in a row you did, and then you get 1 for and then you get an extra 1 for doing 50 days. Anyway, it seems a little bit silly, but it keeps track of your streak. And once you get a good streak going, it can be this real incentive. It's like, you got to keep the streak going. So it starts to become this huge incentive that you're like, I've got to get my streak going. I got to meditate today. And there will be times when I've been obsessed with my streak that I'll be sort of like, it'll be 11:30 at night. I'll be like, oh no, I haven't meditated today. I've got to keep the streak going. I'll sit down and do some meditation just to keep the streak going. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing, but part of me thinks if it's getting you to meditate, that's a good thing. So I know there are lots of other apps out there. A lot of people like Calm. I don't particularly like Calm. I don't know why. A lot of people do like it. It's one of the other. I think it's the second most popular app out there. It's not my thing. And there are many, many, many others, or many of which I'm sure are very good. I think there's one called Waking Up by Sam Harris. Sam Harris is very popular. A little bit controversial. He's a neuroscientist. He's kind of outspoken. He has pretty strong opinions about things. But one of the things he has very strong opinions about is the importance of meditation. So he has a very good app, very scientifically oriented, if that's your thing. So I think that's called Waking Up. And I've only listened to a few days of that. I'm not sure what I think of Sam Harris, but I know he's very popular. I also know he's very smart. I think he's also very opinionated, and I think sometimes I have a hard time with that. But anyway, that's another one that I've heard very good things about. So, a bunch of different apps. I'd invite you to try some. By far my favorite is Insight Timer. So, anyway, that's enough talking for now. Let's do some more meditation. And then I'll talk more about other resources and retreats and teachers and stuff like that. But for now, so once again, taking your seat such that you're comfortable, but not too comfortable. And take a nice deep breath in, all the way in, completely filling your lungs. And let it all the way out. Once again, nice deep breath in, all the way in, completely filling the lungs. Now let it out very slowly, just releasing any tension you're holding in your body. And now allow your breathing to return to normal. Just noticing each moment of each breath. Now I'd like you to expand your attention to notice the sensations in your body. From the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Now I'd like you to focus in on one spot, about an inch below your belly button. I'd just like you to place your attention on that spot. Just aware of that part of your body, not trying to make anything happen. Just paying attention to that spot, however subtle the sensation is, and if it's too subtle, by all means just put your finger there just to feel that spot. Just resting your attention on that spot. And then just starting to repeat your mantra. And if you want to swap your mantra or you're not happy with a mantra or you don't have a mantra, just start repeating the word Om very quietly in the back of your mind. We're not trying to make anything happen. Just placing the attention on that part of the body. And then resting on the mantra. Just hearing this repetition of your word or phrase. We'll just stay here for about 4 minutes. our attention to this spot in the middle of the chest. Again, if it helps to put your finger there, just to feel that spot, just resting your attention on the sensation of that part of the body. And just continuing to repeat, or really just hear the mantra being repeated over and over again in your mind. And we'll stay here for about 4 minutes. Now moving your attention to this spot on your forehead, between your eyebrows and slightly above, just resting your attention on that part of the body and continuing to just hear your mantra being repeated over and over again in your mind. And of course the mind does what it does, and it might take your attention away elsewhere. Just keep persevering and coming back, restarting, focusing on this part of the body, and just hearing your mantra. And just invite you to take a deep breath in. Let it all the way out. Just to make sure you're connected back into your body, noticing your breathing. Paying attention to the sensations in your body, from your toes to the top of your head. Maybe wiggling your fingers a little bit, your toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into the room. So, what else do I recommend? Well, the other thing, if you are into podcasts, I have two favorites. One of which is something called 10% Happier by Dan Harris. Some of you may be familiar with Dan Harris. He's an ABC news correspondent. He used to host Nightline. I think he still hosts Good Morning America from time to time. He has a podcast called 10% Happier. And I think, if you haven't listened to it before, I would actually recommend going all the way back to the beginning, to the first episode, and starting at the beginning. Because I think, in my opinion, I actually haven't listened to it for a while, but in the early days, for the first maybe even 2 years, I think the guests were amazing. And then, I think not surprisingly, I think he started to struggle a little bit to find other people to interview. And so I didn't think it was so good for a while. And I've been busy. But I loved the first 2 years. And I think the very first episode is with Dalai Lama making fun of Dan and his meditation. So that's pretty amusing. And then there's a lot of really good stuff at the beginning. And he interviews loads of fantastic meditation teachers. And if you listen to one of those podcasts, they're usually about an hour. It's sort of almost like coming to class, and you'll almost always get some nugget of really useful information about meditation and a useful little insight from somebody about something to do with meditation and the way they do it or the way they approach it or something like that. So I think that's terrific. The other one is a radio show that's also a podcast. It's called On Being by Krista Tippett. On Being is on NPR. So it's whatever your public radio station is. It's WNYC in New York City. So it's on that, but it's also available on her website, which I think is onbeing.org. And you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. So I'm a big fan of that one as well. And that's slightly higher brow, I think. Dan is lovely and down to earth. Dan Harris is really down to earth and practical. Krista Tippett is a little bit more spiritual and a little bit higher brow, but they're both terrific. And I think if you try both of those, I think you'll probably like one or the other. So what else? Well, I think it depends slightly what you want. So if you just want to feel a bit better, if you like this meditation thing and you like doing it and you think it's good and you just need some encouragement, just keep doing it. I think that the apps are good. What I'd strongly recommend is this 12-week course. I think it's pretty good. You're still here anyway. Many of you who've attended the classes, you know they're the same. Each course is the same, and yet a lot of you just keep showing up. So I think there is a lot of value to just going through it because it's not really about unique pieces of information. It's about continuing to develop your practice, and you can hear a piece of information today, and then you can hear the same piece of information a year from now, and it'll come across completely differently. My meditation teacher died in 1998, and I still listen almost every day to some of his teachings, because even though I've heard them over and over and over again, I still hear things a little differently than I did when he was alive, or than I did, 6 months ago when I last listened to that particular talk. So I would strongly recommend just, I'm going to leave the 12 weeks up, at least probably for at least a year or so. So just come and do it again. And you can keep developing your practice. On the other hand, if you are interested in next, like deepening this, actually starting to get perhaps into more of a spiritual practice, or at least into looking at meditation as a vehicle for self-discovery, that may be who you are or who you think you are. Maybe you're starting to get an inkling that there's more, or that the deeper side of you is where you'd like to explore more. You'd like to pull that out of you more. There is this whole path, and meditation is just one piece of it. It's an important piece. It's a really important piece. But it's just one part of this whole self-discovery track. Some people call it a spiritual track. And it doesn't, you can do it in a religious tradition, you can do it outside of a religious tradition. In a religious tradition, obviously, there's a different metaphysics that goes along with it, perhaps with belief in God or in belief in an intermediary like a Jesus of Nazareth or something like that, or whatever your spiritual tradition is. So there may be a metaphysics that goes with that within a spiritual tradition or outside of a spiritual tradition. You can just continue to deepen your practice. At the core of that is this sense that the normal state of consciousness that we have with our worries, concerns, our pet peeves, our opinions, our beliefs, our limited way of viewing the world, we need, if you're interested in this stuff, you need to explode beyond that and get beyond that. And that's what some of these meditation techniques are about. Is although I as you probably know, I really believe powerfully in awareness meditation, sometimes it helps to just kick yourself into a different state of consciousness. And some people use drugs to do that. I don't recommend that. It's not that I don't think they work, it's just that I think there are all sorts of dangerous side effects. And it happens to be illegal, or at least a lot of them are anyway. But besides that, it's just too dangerous, I think, for most people. But you can get there. You can have the same experiences through meditation, through some of these different techniques. Now, that's not normally going to happen if you just sit down and meditate for 10 minutes. You might feel a little bit floaty, you might feel a little bit spacey, you might feel like you're coming out of your body from time to time, but you're probably not really going to fly to the top of the mountain. In order to do that, sometimes you need a push. I need an extra way of getting there. The most common way that people do that in the modern world is they go on a retreat. And I have mixed feelings about retreat. I think, on the one hand, I think retreats are fantastic. But on the other hand, I think, for a lot of people, I think a lot of people go on a retreat and just experience an enormous amount of pain and suffering in order at some point to get some tiny little bit of insight. Now, if you've actually done most of this 12 weeks, or maybe you've done this 12 weeks for a while, or maybe you've done quite a lot of meditation, like maybe meditating for years relatively regularly, I think you could get a lot out of a retreat. But I also see a lot of people going on retreat who I don't think really, I hate to say this, but I don't really think they know what they're doing. And it's just through agony. And then on the other side of agony, they have some kind of epiphany where they do find some stillness and their mind does stop and they do have this other experience. And they think, oh my God, that's so amazing. And then one of the ways that I know this, I don't think this is great for some people, especially if they don't have much experience, is that at the end of it, they've had this incredible experience. They have this eye-opening different type of consciousness where they suddenly see trees in a way they've never seen trees before. They see flowers in a way they've never seen flowers before. They see their own mind. They see their own potential in a way they've never seen it before. And then they ask, how do I hold on to this? How do I keep this like amazing insight I've had into reality? And the instructors sort of smile and very apologetically say, yeah, you can't. It's all right. And in some ways, it's just like, well, yeah, if you want to have this experience, you just have to keep paying your money and coming back on retreat. And on the one hand, I kind of know what they're saying. Like, it's difficult to hold on to any of these profound insights when you have these incredible experiences. But on the other hand, I also think it's because they don't have a base. And so they just have this one-off incredible experience, a bit like taking a hallucinogenic drug and then going, I want to have that insight all the time. Well, it's difficult if you don't have a base of practice. If you have a base of practice, this can be a way of really getting you to see something new and then reinvigorating your practice. So I would sort of encourage you to think about retreat when they start allowing retreats again in person. And there are a few different organizations. Probably the best one, in my opinion, is the Vipassana, I'm not going to spell this correct, but anyway, it's Vipassana. It might be double P. VIPA, S-S-A-N-A, I think. Might be 2 P's, 2 S's, 2 N's, might be 1 P, 1 S, 1 N, I can't remember. But anyway, Vipassana is the word. And the Vipassana retreats were set up by a teacher. You can look him up as well. His initials were S and then N, so Sierra and then Nancy. So S-N Goenka, Goenka, S-N Goenka. And he was an incredibly wealthy Indian businessman who found meditation and found spiritual discovery and set up these retreat centers all around the world. And there are masses across America. So you can, if you just look up Vipassana retreat, the classic is a 10-day silent retreat. And I think that's probably the most authentic. It's hardcore, but it's very authentic and it's very powerful. And I don't know anybody who's ever been on a Vipassana retreat who regretted it. Even though in the middle, you're going to hate me and you're going to regret it and you're going to not enjoy it. But by the end of it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's the greatest thing I've ever done. So I would recommend, if you're interested in that, I would check out the Vipassana retreat. That's a 10-day. Now you can break yourself in gently. I will be hosting a 1-day retreat online next Wednesday. I haven't worked out all the details, but it'll be next Wednesday. It'll be online, probably through Zoom. And I'll let you know more about that. So you can break in gently and just do a 1-day and see what that's like. And then you can do weekend ones. I think they have 3-day ones and 4-day ones. And then if you really want to, go up the next level, then there are 10-day ones, and then there are 30-day ones, and then there are 3-year ones. So you can decide how deep you want to go down the well. But maybe just start out with a 1-day, either mine or there are lots of other online 1-day retreats going on right now. So you can check that out. The other thing I'd like you to do is to check out other teachers. I'm thrilled that you've been so loyal and keep coming back and all this kind of stuff. But it will help you to see some other points of view. Now, who to see? Well, if you haven't come across it yet, just take a look at Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. It's very good. I think he's very authentic. And I'm going to use that word, and it's difficult to describe exactly what I mean by that word of authentic teachers. But there are an awful lot of teachers like me who are not fully realized, who might know a little bit more than you do, but they're not that far down the path. And then there are some people who've really discovered some really powerful things. And I would say Eckhart Tolle is one of those people. And he's sort of outside of any spiritual tradition. So that's kind of interesting. Another person who I think is extraordinary, who I'm relatively new to, is this woman called Byron Katie. And I've been listening to her book called A Mind at Home with Itself. Now, she's probably most famous for this psychological approach called The Work. But I particularly like this book, and I particularly like her. I think, again, incredibly authentic. And again, self-realized, didn't come at this from within a religious tradition. She just woke up one day and had these profound insights into the nature of reality. And now she teaches other people. So I think she's somebody who I think is very interesting. Then from the Buddhist tradition, my favorite guy who's out there right now is this guy whose name I'm going to butcher. But I think he's Mingyur Rinpoche. And his book, or one of his books, his first book is called The Joy of Living. His most recent book is called, I think, In Love with the World or something like that. But anyway, all his books are amazing. He's an incredible guy, incredible teacher. Went off and did his first 3-year retreat when he was 16 and was then invited to run the next 2 3-year retreats back to back after that. So even just at the age of 19, he was recognized as being extraordinary. He's now in his 40s. Might even be early 50s. I think he's in his 40s. And he's recognized within the Buddhist tradition as being kind of the guy. I would read the book, or if you get a chance to listen to him, or maybe even if you get the chance to go and see him, that would be worth doing. Who else is out there? Yes, okay, from the Hindu tradition. A Westerner, but going by the name of Gangaji. So I've been to see her a few times. She's extraordinary. So Gangaji, G-A-G-I, Gangaji. I think she's out in the West somewhere. She's pretty authentic, amazing. She has a few different books. This is one, The Diamond in Your Pocket. But you can also just listen to her. She's from Mississippi originally. Again, the Southern accent might be distracting. But again, incredibly authentic, amazing, wonderful. Then, of course, the classics, John Kabat-Zinn. I wouldn't say I think he's particularly self-realized. I'm hopeful he's not claiming to be. I don't think he is, but he's very good. And this is his book, which is sort of the MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Guidebook. It's called Full Catastrophe Living. It's a bit of a tome. It's quite thick, but excellent. Who else? Okay, other inspirations. Anything classic from any spiritual tradition. If it's a classic, take a look. Things like, if you like the New Testament, do that. If you like the Bhagavad Gita, it's really good. If you want a modern version of the Bhagavad Gita, there's something called The Legend of Bhagavans, which is a novel about a golf game, but it's really about the Bhagavad Gita. Classics, so anything classic from the Christian tradition. Teresa of Avila, this is called Interior Castle, which is her most famous. But so she's 16th century. St. John of the Cross, Dark Night of the Soul. More modern, unfortunately, he died in 1986. But this guy from the Christian tradition, I think is... Okay, if you're going to get one book of this list, just get this one. Awareness, Anthony de Mello. Extraordinary. From the Christian tradition, he was kind of denounced as a heretic by the previous pope. But that usually means he was onto something. So he was very good. And I'll share, other inspiration. My teacher, who... unfortunately also died in 1998. But anyway, so he wrote a little novel about his discovery of meditation. Great fun. I wouldn't say it's like goes into huge detail about meditation and everything else, but it's great fun. My teacher, everything I teach you is really thanks to him. So his name is Frederick Lenz, and this is Surfing the Himalayas. So anyway, check out some other teachers. Maybe think about a retreat. Maybe just keep meditating. What else do I have to share? I think there was something else, but I can't remember. And it's time for some more meditation. Apps, books, teachers, retreats. I guess mostly trust yourself. Yeah, a couple of things. Trust yourself. So I'm glad that you've come along. I mean, I really do my best and I try to be honest, and I'm not self-realized. I haven't got to the finish line. But fortunately, I've seen enough really great teachers, I hope, to be humble about what I know and what I don't know. I do think there are a bunch of teachers out there who think they're a little hotter than they are. I think there are also a lot of really, really good teachers out there. So just if at your core it doesn't feel quite right, it might not even mean that they're not a good teacher. It might just mean that they're not good for you. That's all. Really trust yourself, because there's only so much time and there's plenty of really good ones. So check out some other ones. If you check out all these other ones and you want to come back and do some more practice with me, I expect at some point I will do something else. I don't know what it is yet. Probably won't be the 12 weeks again, but probably do something else. Might be a sort of more intermediate class in the fall or something like that. So you'll always be welcome back. But I'd encourage you to go and check out some other people. And the most important piece of advice that my teacher used to give us was not to beat yourself up if you fall off the wagon. If you stop meditating, if you stop meditating for a day, if you stop meditating for a week, if you stop meditating for a month, if you stop meditating for 5 years, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Just start again. Just like with the breathing, just start again. My teacher used to have this saying. He said, even when you're not on the path, you're still on the path. Sometimes when you're taking a break from meditation, it's because you need to learn how valuable meditation is. You didn't get it yet. You didn't realize how valuable it is. It didn't really get into your bones yet. So maybe you just need to not do some meditation for a while to go, oh my goodness, I really need to get back to meditation. So no matter how long you've gone away from it for, just come back. It's always available. Now more than ever, there are so many resources. So always just keep coming back. And please don't beat yourself up. It's not worth it. Life's too short. And it's just a thought. Your beating yourself up is just a thought, and it's not a useful one. I promise you. So if you've skipped meditation, if you've dropped meditation, if you haven't done it for a while, just remember it's worthwhile, and remember you just start again, over and over. With that, let's send ourselves some loving kindness. So if I can invite you, this is how we'll finish the 13 weeks. I think it's quite a good way to finish any meditation, actually, is with a little bit of loving kindness. So we'll do a slightly shortened version. We'll just do 3-part loving kindness meditation. Inviting you to sit up straight, such that you're comfortable and alert, and take a nice deep breath in, all the way in. And then let it all the way out, completely emptying your lungs. Then once again, nice deep breath in. And then let it all the way out, very slowly this time. Just releasing any tension you're holding in your body. And allowing your breathing to return to normal. And I invite you to bring to mind the person that you find easiest to love, the person that is easiest for you to send kindness towards, and just open your heart completely. Sometimes we hold back with our love. But just let it out. It feels great. You have an unlimited amount to give. So just send it all towards this person, and just repeating your phrases, whatever they may be. Tonight mine will be, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. Opening your heart and repeating your phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. Now seeing if you can send that same degree of kindness towards yourself. Just opening your heart completely. If there's any resistance, just see if you can let it go and just cover yourself in kindness and generosity and love. Everything that you deserve. And at the very least, just keep repeating your phrases with as much intention as you can. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. And now opening your heart towards all beings. Billions of people on the planet, trillions of animals, and you have this far greater capacity to send healing, love, kindness, generosity across the entire planet. And at the very least, just repeat the phrases. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings have lives filled with joy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings have lives filled with joy. And take a deep breath in. Let it all the way out. And when you're ready, open your eyes, connect yourself back into the room. So it is not without a degree of sadness that I sign off and say thank you so much for joining me. This is the 13th week. I will continue to do morning meditations until Tuesday, and then I'm afraid that's it. And then Wednesday we'll do an all-day retreat. So maybe I'll see you this week. Maybe I'll see you next Wednesday. Maybe I'll see you at some point in the future. But just like to thank you so much for your support, your encouragement, for the lovely emails you send. I wouldn't have done this without you, and it's been fantastic for me. I hope you got something out of it too. But thank you so much. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your lives be filled with joy. Thank you.